Cool. All right. There are many more people here than I expected, in all honesty. So I'm
Thanks for
Justin
coming.
Johnston from Radio Free Gamer, which was a radio show that I stopped doing like a million years ago. So I play D&D now. But with me are my friends Eric, who's the DM for the campaign that my friend Alex and I are playing in, and we're all three DMs in our own right. Alex and I are DMing for Curse of Strahd, which is a very fun campaign. But our goal today is to give people an introduction to Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, in particular telling them how to get started with 5th edition. So if I could just get a quick show of hands here, how many people have never played Dungeons and Dragons? Cool. All right. Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Perfect.
It's been 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Wow.
so wait, you played what, 2nd edition?
Yeah, like or the original.
Beginning of like AD&D.
Oh, wow, okay.
It was like 9.
Wow. That's
We've
legit.
made some changes
No,
since then.
No, props. Yeah.
Nothing about it, so.
There
Oh,
are spells.
There
totally.
are no terms.
We've got
Yeah.
wizards.
Spells,
There are still
abilities,
wizards.
warriors. Bare-chested.
The drow was
lots
still
of
jerks,
fantasy.
okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. It's so one of the things I want to get into what 5th edition is today, and for the people who maybe aren't as familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, I have arranged a very nice presentation. So getting into it, D&D is shared storytelling. There is a division of sorts between the DM or the dungeon master. You might more generally hear it referred to as the game moderator. So DM and GM are referred to sort of interchangeably, and the PCs or the player characters. So right away, when you see a group of D&D players, there are going to be a group of player characters, usually 4 to 6, and a DM. Now, the player characters create and act as characters. So when you're playing D&D, you're not necessarily acting as yourself. You're acting as a character that you've created. Your character might be a dwarf or an elf or a half-elf or a half-orc or a drow. And you respond to certain situations as your character would. And the actions that you take as your character have real consequences. That's something that I like as an element of D&D, is the fact that nothing is hard-coded. When you start a session of D&D, you never know where it's going to go. I mean, the other day we were playing a session of D&D where I grew to huge proportions, large proportions, if you want to go by the rules. And I shrunk a bear to small proportions, and I named him Pablo too, and he is my pet. And he will be hopefully my pet forever, and I have no reason to doubt why he would have ulterior motives.
Well,
Pablo might have a heart murmur that is
Yeah.
leading to his demise.
I will.
I'm not feeding Pablo too. You got to keep that thing alive.
Yeah, I mean, a piece of corn will probably feed him for a week.
I mean, I will sacrifice any resources that I have at my disposal to keep Pablo too in good health. There are a large number of tabletop games out there, tabletop RPGs specifically. Most of those will have a 3-pillar system. Those 3 pillars are social interaction, which is us player characters interacting with non-player characters, NPCs, as acted out by the DM. Exploration is things like exploring a city or exploring a dungeon. And combat. And we're going to give a brief example of social interaction and combat later in the presentation. So the flow of gameplay when you play a typical D&D session is you'll have a DM who presents the situation. They will usually give some high-level explanation of what the player characters see, what's going on in the world. And then the player characters themselves decide how they're going to respond to that. So depending on their backgrounds, their experiences, they're going to respond in different ways. And the characters, the player characters, all have a different set of abilities. These are things like arcana, the ability to persuade people, the ability to intimidate people, skills, spells, or gear, magical or otherwise, that they can use to interact with their environment, interact with the people who they're talking with, and achieve whatever they aim to. And the characters will say what they want to do, in short, and the DM will resolve that either by asking the characters to roll dice and apply some moderator base, some modifier, thank you, based on their skills, or some DMs will just ask people to straight up role play things out, and the better you role play it, the more likely you are to succeed. So I just want to go into a brief example, honestly, of a social interaction and a brief example of a combat interaction that is will give you maybe a better idea of what a D&D session looks like. So I will hand it over to our DM, Eric.
All right, so again, spoilers, if you guys are playing Out of the Abyss and haven't gotten to this point, or are interested in running, this is just a small portion of Gracklstugh, which is known as the City of Blades in the Underdark. Gracklstugh, again, is where most of the Duergar live, and they're a race of stone dwarves, or gray dwarves, as they're also known. They are particularly interested in pragmaticism, as well as kind of interesting weapons trades, armor trades. They don't particularly like magical things, nor do they tolerate magical creatures. They also don't like surface dwellers. So, for example, if you are running this campaign and all of your player characters are surface dwellers, which they should be in Out of the Abyss, because that's kind of the point, is you're trying to get back to the surface, the Duergar are very hostile in nature. So, basically, this particular encounter is getting through a social interaction and then maybe combat. We'll see. We'll see how they do. Okay. So the ground beneath your feet. I want to introduce very quickly. This is Taller. He is our fighter, and this is Adran. He is a rogue. Okay. Taller's a human, right? Yeah, a human. And then Adran is a
Wood elf.
Wood elf, right?
Yeah, Taller's kind of Clint Eastwood inspired, you know. He's sort of a morally ambiguous person who does not like to play nice. So
Indeed.
yeah.
And Adrian's just kind of stupid.
He is. His intelligence is not very well. So again, whenever you are playing a character, you need to play to your character, right? So if your intelligence is low, then play a dumb character, per se. All right, so these are our guys. The ground beneath your feet has been getting smoother and flatter, a welcomed respite from the uneventful passages to which you have grown wearily accustomed, and eventually stone tiles become more noticeable, turning the path into a proper road. You can see spots of light in the distance, blue and white, and too regular to place to phosphorescent mushrooms, and the lights are proper lamps, flanking two massive stone gates blocking the tunnel before you. Before you get a chance to examine the intricate carvings at the gates, you notice that there, to your right, is what would appear to be a cavern with two entrances, and to your left you see a bustling mercantile full of various species of Underdark creature, as well as several merchants of Duergar and Diro backgrounds. And Adrian and Taller are in Gracklstugh.
So we're trying to get entrance into the gates of Gracklstugh.
Yeah.
Is the gist of it. So I knock on the gates.
So the gates themselves are large iron wrought gates. They are approximately 30 feet tall and approximately 15 feet wide each. The gates are latched heavily. They have huge iron rivets through them. They also have three large iron bars across, parallel with the ground and perpendicular to the verticalness of the doors. They're huge. They are massive. They seem impenetrable. The top of the gate appears to be unoccupied, per se, but you do notice that there is a small slit near the top of the gate. And Taller knocks very loudly on the gate.
Hey, is anybody here? There must be some guards here. Come on. Hey, is there anybody here?
And the gate slides open, and out appears a small door guard, stone guard. He's kind of small in nature, and his armor is too big for him, but he wears it well. And he says, "Who goes there?"
This is Tyler and Adrian. We were wondering if you might permit us entry into Gracklestug.
State your name and business.
We're looking, if you got a library, we'd like to do some book learnings while we're here.
No, sir. We have no library. You go away.
Okay, well, let's see. You don't speak that language. Hey, Dollar, you think this guy takes money? You got any money? I bet if we grease this old wheel, she'll slide right open.
Yeah, I jingle one bag, and it's got 100 gold pieces. in it.
Donation for the library.
Oh, very nice. You speak my language. Oh, you silly pig dogs. I do not like you. But you've got some coins. Show me some money.
Yeah, I show him a bag full of, and I open up the bag and I just jingle some coins down into it.
Okay, toss me the bag.
Don't talk.
Don't
pass him that.
I'm gonna roll. I'd like to see if he's genuine about whether or not he'd let me into the city.
Okay, so roll some insight.
Okay.
So this is an example where the DM the player character has decided to try to use one of his ability skills, and the DM has decided to force a dice roll and add the modifier.
I got an 11.
He is. You perceive him to be a shifty son of a gun.
How do I know you're gonna let us into the city if I give you this?
You don't. This is what makes it great. You better hurry. The slit is closing, and he starts sliding it ever so gently closed.
Yeah,
Hold on. And I put my hand on the slit. And,
The slit's much higher than you. It's like basically toward the top.
oh, that's right. You're
Yeah,
looking
you
down
can't
on us.
actually do
I
that.
see. Okay, hold on.
And he stops.
Listen. So 100 gold, and you'll open the door, and let us in, or let us in some other way.
No, 100 gold, and I open the door, and then maybe we negotiate more when you get inside. Do you have anything to trade? I really lack weapons. I do not have an elf sword. You seem like a elfy type of man.
I may or may not have a sword, but first I'd like to roll insight to see.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you can perceive his intentions.
Nat 20.
Yeah, he is absolutely trying to screw you out of a bunch of money and/or weapons.
Taller, I don't really trust this guy. I'm not too smart, but I'm sort of getting the feeling that this is maybe a bit of a non-starter.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting the same impression over here. I think maybe if we give him the impression that we're going to cooperate. I mean, all we really need to do here is get him to open up that door.
Just got to get on the other side, right? Okay.
Yeah, just get him to open it up. So yeah, I tossed the 100 gold through there on the auspices that will open up negotiations further.
Excellent. So he accepts the gold, and he kind of goes, very kind of you, and he catches it, and he opens the bag. Behind closed doors, you can't actually see what's happening, but you hear the money jingling around. The slit is still remaining open, and after about a minute or so, he comes back to you through the slit, and he says, "Very good, but you must be quick. I cannot let strangers in." And he slides the slit closed, and you hear some kind of like footsteps clanking down, and it appears to be taking longer than it probably should. But when the door finally opens, it's only slightly ajar, and revealed to you is actually a Duergar of smaller than normal stature. And again, he doesn't look like his armor fits very well. It kind of looks like he's a privileged child who was enrolled in the military because daddy needed to give him something to do because he's a brat. So that's what, and he says, well, quickly, you must move through. And he kind of steps aside for you to
Oh
enter.
yeah, I gladly
Adrian
move
definitely
through.
takes that
Yeah.
entrance.
I'm on the other side now.
I'm in.
Cool.
Perfect. So he closes the door and he latches it very securely. Despite his size, he seems surprisingly strong. And he looks at you and he says, "Well, 100 gold to get in, but for more protection, you must pay me some more."
What is it?
I require 50 more gold.
Why would we need your protection? We're inside the city now.
Oh, you don't understand, my friend. We are sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
I take out my axe and I puff out my chest. I was like, who says I need your protection?
And he perceives this as a threat, and he as well looks at you and he says, "I would not do that, my friend. Do not make a mistake. You will become a Timberchod meat." Timberchod is the name of a dragon, by the way,
Yeah.
that lives in Gracklestugh.
It's very intimidating. A large red
Yeah,
dragon.
he's an adult red dragon.
Yeah. So listen, little man. I don't think you got what it takes to turn us into any kind. I'm trying to visibly trying to it's towering over him, and he's only like 4 feet tall.
Yeah, at most.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll some intimidation.
Okay. Ooh, that's an 18.
Yeah, he cowers a touch, but he says to you, "Well, my friend, you picked the wrong man to mess with. My friends, on guard!" And please roll initiative.
Okay.
So
that's still going.
now is a moment when we've kind of moved out of the role play, and they have done their best to try to resolve the situation as best with role play, but unfortunately the situation came to combat.
Yeah, it did not work.
It didn't
unfortunately.
work, unfortunately. And you as the DM or you as the player can decide how well or how bad that interaction goes. So your DM may reward you for clever activities. Your DM may just say, no, you're going to fight this guy regardless, and definitely push an agenda. So just kind of roll with the punches and accept their ruling. So now what we're going to do is we're going to roll for initiative. So those of you who had never played before, you take a d20, you roll it, and then you add your dexterity modifier. So since there are going to be multiple combatants, I will roll once for all of them. As a DM, if you have multiple combatants, and I say multiple being more than 3, or 3 or more, just roll once. It simplifies things, and just have them all act one at a time. There was a recent session where we had 6 skeletons and 8 dretches in addition to the big bad evil guy, and 6 players.
Yeah.
So I was running a whole shit ton of people,
Yeah.
and it was not very fun. So just keep track of your initiatives orders. So Taller, what'd you get?
I got a 16.
Okay, Adrian.
5.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's the
Great
highest number actually.
initiative rolls.
Other than a 1. 1 is actually the highest.
Oh, wait,
It's
I rolled a
reverse
D6.
order.
Oh, yeah.
So, wait, did you roll a d6?
No.
Yeah. So when you roll a d20, 1 is the best always.
Yes, always. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
You want to aim for those 1s.
Yeah.
That's a lie. That's not true. You want to aim
That's-
for 20s.
absolutely the opposite.
All
of
right,
what you wanna
Challer,
do.
you are first on the order.
So what am I
So
saying?
what you see is you see a Gorglak, of which you've never asked his name. It's just
Okay.
the little French Duergar,
I don't care.
the incredibly racist Duergar, who is standing in front of you, and he draws his axe, and then 2 other Duergar stone guards, very large actually, quite menacing looking, come out of invisibility, and they are approximately 20 feet on each side of you. So they basically form a triangle around you and Adrian.
Okay.
Okay.
So as a fighter, I like to do things that are, that utilize my strength. And I'm going to. How far is how far is Gorglak?
Gorglak is only about 15 feet.
Okay, I'm gonna charge him. I'm gonna try to grapple him.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's do some strength.
Yeah.
So grappling works by strength checks,
Yep.
and so fighters are very good at that. What'd you roll?
They should be on principle. I got a 13. I'm gonna use one of my lucky points. on
Oh,
that.
fantastic.
Oh, that's a 22.
Yeah, yeah. So he's got a feat that allows him to re-roll a d20.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does better than my strength check. So he has successfully grappled the little French Duergar. And so what grappling does is it basically you hug them and
Yeah.
you restrain them
Yeah.
so they are either at a disadvantage or your players get advantage. So, all right.
All right, I'm going to use my action surge actually, and I'm going to hold my axe to his throat and try to get the other Dorgar guards to back off.
Okay. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I say, you can back off, or I can slice this guy's throat.
Okay, so roll some intimidation.
All right. I got a 17.
They are trembling in their boots.
All right.
They're on the verge of wetting themselves.
I say, you throw down your weapons for me.
Unfortunately, they stand steadfast and they want to protect him. Gorglak yells out, "You see, you sons of bitches! You cannot let me die! I pay you very well! You cannot let me die!" And anyway, all right, Taller, anything else you want to do?
I'm just going to persist in, threatening this guy's life.
Gorglak is now going to try to
Okay.
break your grapple. He does not.
I got a natch, so yeah, he does not.
Yeah, so a natural 20 always wins, unless the DM rolls a natural 20, and then you would re-roll. But yep, the next Duergar is actually going to run at you, and he is going to attempt to hit you and swing at you.
Okay.
He fails his first attack, and they only actually get one attack this time. The second Duergar is actually going to use a tactic that the Duergar are familiar with, and they can increase or decrease their size magically. That's just an inherent property. So he's going to enlarge to become medium-sized.
All right.
So
All
now
right.
he's about your size.
Okay, this is not intimidating to me at all.
Not at all, but it is a little freaky to see a small creature get your sized.
All right.
So he is going to try to hit you. Your AC is 18?
It's 17, right now.
Oh, 17 right now.
Yeah.
He hits you
Really?
successfully with his warhammer.
Okay.
Oh, gotta keep it on the table. And he's only gonna do 5 damage to you.
Okay, that's not really much of a concern to me.
Nope. Cool. Adrian, you are next on the order. So now you have, just to describe the scene, you've got 2 Duergar clustered around Taller who are trying to ask him a question. And then you've got a Duergar who's being asked a question.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to use my movement to move behind the 2 Duergar grappling with Taller, and then I'll take out my longbow and shoot the furthest one.
Okay.
That is a 14.
Not good enough.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arrow flies right past him.
Great. Another arrow lost. And then I'd like to move back up towards Taller and the other 2 and just use my cunning action to throw 1,000 ball bearings all over the street in front of them and then back up once again.
Cool. No salty,
Okay,
no salty
cool.
darts.
No
So they're-
salty darts for them, no.
Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, next, Taller, it's
So
you.
there are ball bearings everywhere in
There
front
are
of me?
ball bearings
Yeah,
everywhere.
I'm just going to push Gorglak?
Gorglak.
Gorglak. I'm going to push him into the ball bearings and just make a run for it.
Okay, he is going to make a dexterity saving throw to try to stay upright, and he does not. He falls flat on his face, and his helmet actually comes off, and you see that he is a balding man, and he's not proud of it. He's actually quite embarrassed about it. Okay.
Yeah, I
you
make fun of him for that, and
make a run for it?
I run for it. Yeah.
All right, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Sure. Yep, if I could keep it on the table. I'm going to use another lucky point on that. I'm going to use another lucky point on
Last
that.
one.
That's a 14.
Okay, yeah, that's good enough. You do it. Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Gorglak is going to use his movement to stand back up, and he is going to say, "You messed with the wrong man. You pay me now, or we'll kill you."
Oh, I'm running. I'm already running.
He's out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, he's gonna toss a javelin at you, and he significantly misses. The other 2 would have invoked an opportunity of attack, by the way.
Okay.
So we're gonna roll those opportunities of attack now. One hits you, does 5 damage. The other does not hit you, so you're good to go.
All right.
All right. Next on the order are their actual turns. They're gonna toss some javelins at you. One misses. The other misses as well. Not rolling so great. Adrian.
I'm just going to go ahead and try to hit the...
Sure you don't want to run away.
I yell.
I'd
Let's
recommend running.
let's please run.
Yeah, well, I've got
expedite this.
as a rogue, I have
Cunning action.
30 feet of movement as a wood elf, and then as a rogue, I have a cunning action, which allows me to dash. So,
Dash it.
yep. So, and I just want to get a lick in before I go. So I'm going to shoot an arrow at the first guy I missed
Okay.
because he fucking looked at me and laughed a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a 15.
No, not good enough.
Oh wow.
I run.
Okay.
I run
Okay.
as fast as
Fantastic.
I can.
So, the
can I pick
Duergar-
up all my ball bearings?
No, no, not as this isn't Jax.
There
You
goes
can't do
all
that.
the ball bearings.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just say that they're out of initiative at this point. Most of the time, combat can continue until either the creatures are dead or they've resolved it in a different way. But our adventurers have decided to run, and Gorg yells at, "I won't forget this! I know your face! I've seen you! Come back here, you pig dog!" And anyway, we're gonna say they're out of combat now. So, that's it.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's how you run away from things in Dungeons
Yeah.
and Dragons
That's
5th
how you run
edition.
away.
People rarely do.
Yeah.
And as a DM,
yeah.
never forget when they ran away
Yes.
and who they ran away from.
Yes,
Never
please.
forget.
Cool.
Make notes.
So yeah, that's an example of how we run through things when we want to give you a very quick example of something in D&D 5th edition. So I wanted to move along to the sort of materials that you need when you're preparing for a campaign. Now, there are two sets of rules that you can operate off of. The first is a sort of abbreviated set of rules that you can find in the D&D starter set. The starter set is geared more for people who want a less restrictive set of rules and to get off and running with their campaign very quickly. There's also the player's handbook. So that is this. The player's handbook contains a much more complete set of rules. I honestly do not have any experience with the starter set rules, and I can't say how much more simplified they are. But if I were honest, I'd say that the player's handbook is probably the way to go, and that's the more standardized way of playing things, certainly. Now that once you've got your set of rules, there's a fantastic resource on the Wizards website for either creating your own character sheet or for finding a pre-generated character sheet. So if you go here, and I linked to this in a set of materials that I'll mention the URL later. But if you go to this website, which I've created a listing of helpful materials. You can find both the simplified version of the character sheet for the getting started set, or you can find the full character sheet. And if you see here, it also says pre-generated characters. They give about 20 or so easy character sheets that are already generated for you from levels 1 to 10. And if you want to get started with, a half-elf bard or something and put your own spin on the character, then you can easily use these pre-generated character sheets and you're good to go. So honestly, one of the more complicated parts of getting ready to run a campaign is creating your character sheet. So they do that all for you if you want to. And even if you don't want to, there's you can use these character sheets as an example of something to work off of when you're creating your character. And then dice. So I would have to recommend a set of 7 dice. I'm not going to go through all of them and what they're used for here, but a set of 7 dice, you can get them from Amazon, you can get them at your local game store, your LGS, or you can get them from, if you're a nerd like me and you want the super balanced resin dice, you can get them at like Game Science Dice, D&D Dice, Q Workshop. They're shaking their heads at me because I didn't want to use a set of dice that was weighted in such a way as to give me an inappropriate number of 20s.
It's just the character of your dice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the nature, because the last time you used them, you were rolling like 2s and 4s.
Yeah,
Even
but
today,
it's
you had to use
fair.
3 lucky points in like 10 minutes.
That's fair.
I didn't have to.
Okay. So what he's saying is he'd rather cheat as the DM than use dice that are
That's
properly
part
weighted.
of the job description.
Right, I
Yeah,
mean,
really it is.
I'm behind this screen.
You
Let's
don't
be
know
real.
what's going on
Yeah,
back there.
so yeah, I was looking at your rolls. I can see him from here. I was taking advantage of that. I
No, but
usually don't
he's got
see that.
a really good point. So there are a lot of other applications like Roll20. If you play online, has got dice rolling applications. There are some
Yeah.
for your smartphone, but truly the tradition of D&D is physical dice. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend having a set of dice. And if you want a set of dice for each character you play, be my guest. I have one for every character I play, and I have a separate set for my DM's dice. So they're black with red numbers because I want the blood to run. So
I really like you sadistic bastard.
That's what I do.
Cool. So there are tons of different ways to play D&D. We were discussing before this panel different adventure books that are published by Wizards of the Coast, the company that make Dungeons and Dragons. You can play a campaign straight out of an adventure book like Out of the Abyss, Rise of Tiamat, Curse of Strahd, or the new Storm King's Thunder. Those can last 6 months, upwards of a year, in all honesty. Or you can just play a one-shot or a campaign that's set to last 3 or 4 sessions. It's all up to you. And there are also ways to play it online if you don't have a group of people in person. You know, if you're spread out across the country, then you can use an application like Roll20 to both meet people and play online. And I'll give you a quick screenshot of what that looks like. It's very, very cool. You can use digital maps like the ones that are used on Roll20. You can use a piece of grid paper to represent your dungeon that has little miniatures on it. Or you can just not use any visuals at all and basically do what we just did, where it's all theater of the mind. Yeah, you can have a whiteboard that's set up with your grid. The thing about D&D is that it's very easy to make it what you want to make it. You know, if you want to do a fantasy-themed, a standard fantasy-themed campaign, if you want to do a steampunk, pirates, or you can do Spelljammer to do a space-themed campaign, you can do that. You can customize the rules so that they're lax or that they're super strict. Honestly, if you're running a super strict campaign, you probably just should run 4E.
Foraging for food.
Yeah. Nobody.
Have you drinking water in the last hour?
Yeah.
I
No.
feel a little thirsty.
Oh wow.
Sorry. No.
Getting a headache. My blood sugar is pretty low.
Constitution saving throw.
No. So I mean, some people, you know, not to rag on you if that's your thing, if strict rules are your thing, but one of the things I like about 5th edition is that you can kind of just toss those rules, and it's not really going to impact your campaign that much. And in addition to that, there are many homebrew sites, because 5th edition introduced a very, very smart thing, which is called the OGL, the Open Gaming License, which allowed for people to publish and sell their own D&D materials, so their own monster manuals, their own campaigns. You know, you can go online and find one-page dungeon and find a dungeon that you can run with your friends in your campaign. There are tons of materials out there for you to run your own campaign. So I think I got a couple pictures here. You're never going to play like I wish in my dreams that I could play with a set like this, but no. So yeah, that's Mieris Miniatures there with a very nice town setup. More likely you're going to play with something like this.
Yeah.
I pulled this straight off of Wiki. Piece of graph paper, dry erase graph paper, or wet erase graph, whatever. And you've got the miniatures on there. Or you could just play straight up theater of the mind. Like Eric was just describing now. You know, I don't need a set of miniatures to do that. But if you're playing an older edition, like 4th edition, you'll most likely need a grid paper. And this is really cool looking. This is Roll20. So if you see off over to the side here, there's a chat. You can do your dice rolls in the chat so people can see you. There are also like visual effects that you can do here with this fire. It's a really cool way to play the game. It makes it sort of bridges the gap between video game and role-playing game. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, absolutely. I run the Curse of Strahd campaign, as Justin said earlier, and I use Roll20. And I'm an IT guy, so this sort of using this software to help enable me run a campaign really turns the lights on for me. And you can create characters. Thanks to the OGL, you can have your character sheet in there, and you can want to make a new monster, make a new character sheet, find the monster, drag and drop, and all its stats are there. And you can just click on the attack, and it will roll damage, roll to hit. And yeah, I've been using the crap out of it. I like to think that it was made by programmers for programmers, because you can pretty much make macros out the wazoo to do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good thing about So previously, Wizards of the Coast had Fantasy Grounds. You guys have probably heard of Fantasy Grounds. That was their official licensed D&D web-based product. It was very cumbersome. It was beautiful in its functionality, but it was really, really hard to use. Things were embedded in click after click after click after click. And Roll20 sort of simplified all that. Plus, the fan base was much larger. It's a free service.
Yeah.
You can also pay to get premium access to it, but the thing that they've done well is they have shifted the starter set into Roll20.
Yep.
So you can purchase the starter set in Roll20 and run it straight out of there. So it has all the content, the character sheets, the monster tokens, all the rolls. You can create macros for it. And then they've also migrated a purchased package of Storm King's Thunder. So you get the manual, you get all the monster tokens, you get all the monster sheets, character sheets, etc. So if you are kind of converting all of your paper documents, because D&D has a long history rooted in paper and pencil, and you have to carry on, 16, 17 pounds of books, and 5 sets of pencils because and 18 bags of dice because your players, that's what they require for the game. You can now convert everything down into an electronic means and just carry your laptop around. So I highly recommend that you explore that option if you're interested. But again, D&D is rooted in the tradition of paper and pencil, and you can still play that way, and it's still very functional and very beautiful that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is the progression of D&D, and one of the things, like I mentioned, you can make D&D work for you now, however you want. If you want to still do pencil and paper, you can do that. If you want to do totally digital, you can do that. If you want to do something in between, that's totally available to you. So I wanted to bring up a few helpful resources that are available to players. If you're still looking to, one of the things I wanted to get to that I forgot to was setting expectations about this panel. I don't think it's possible to introduce someone to the entire rule set of D&D 5th edition in an hour, or in 4 hours for that matter. To that point, there are some great YouTube channels that you can check out if you're looking to create your character sheet, to get started, to really understand the rules of the game better. Don Forgecast is a great one. There are a few others that I mentioned here. Honestly, I'm kind of the mindset that I want to go and create my own materials because I always feel like I could do it a little more concisely and better. But if you're curious about the rules of D&D, the channels that I list here are a good introduction. There's, as far as finding games that you can play in, the best places would be just going on Reddit, RD&D, going on Meetup, Warhorn, which is a website that it's mostly for Pathfinder, but there are some people playing D&D 4th and 5th edition on there. There's also Roll20. You can find people who are actively recruiting for new players on Roll20. There's also a fantastic league play. It's the D&D Adventurers League. You can check the Wizards of the Coast website to see which current local game stores, LGSs, are hosting a D&D Adventurers League. That's a great place to go and find people who are playing. In addition to D&D Adventurers League, which is sort of more official, they might also have a casual game night, which if you're from the area, like Victory Comics does both a casual gaming and a D&D Adventurers League night. If you're into podcasts and want basically a longer version of what we did here, hopefully more,
A lot more goofs.
Lots more goofs.
Big bag of goofs.
Big bag of goofs.
Yeah. Adventure Zone is a great podcast. I have to heartily recommend that one. That's an example of a group of people who sort of play fast and loose with the rules, but it's funny and it's enjoyable. And that's the number one rule of D&D. If you're not enjoying it, then, who cares about the rules if you're not enjoying it? What's the point of your playing? So that's the background that I'm coming from. Adventure Zone does a great job of making it enjoyable for both the players and the listeners. Drunks and Dragons is another good one. I've been drinking. Critical Role is fun to watch on Twitch, and Dice Camera Action, featuring bastard, Chris Perkins.
Bastard.
Yeah, I'm not jealous of him at all. You know, he's Chris Perkins is the lead designer on a number of D&D 5th edition campaigns, such as Curse of Strahd, Storm King's Thunder.
Yeah, Hand and Out of the Abyss.
Yeah,
Jerk.
not jealous. So I created a shortened URL for everyone. It's bit.do/ and I don't know if this is case sensitive or not, DNDBOA for Birth of Adventures. If you go there, you'll find a bunch of helpful links to basically everything that I list here. So.
I just checked, it is case sensitive.
It is case sensitive? Cool, I appreciate
Thanks.
that. Thank
Thanks,
you. Yeah.
It's participation. +1 inspiration.
Oh yeah, inspiration to you, sir.
Tossing it out.
Yeah. Cool. So on the note of Birth of Adventures is the sort of brand name that we're using for all the D&D programming that we have here. We have, in addition to this panel, we have Uncle Yo, host, he's a fantastic sort of anime.
That's you?
Yeah.
That's you.
Awesome. He's in the house.
Hey. Cool.
Kind of fun to meet you guys.
I've already complimented you. Wow.
I appreciate it.
It's a good thing I
Are
didn't
we
say
in
you
your
were
presentation
horrible.
too?
Yeah.
We better be.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Cool. So yeah, you're
I'm coming
doing,
with my dice.
I mean, obviously without this one, because that would require time travel. We don't usually have that in D&D. It makes it a mess.
It's
That
pretty
does.
bad. Time Turner, it doesn't
Must
make
give
sense.
the
You could
temporal
have saved
challenge.
Cedric Diggory, bastards.
Depending on sort of the region.
Yeah. Cool, but yeah, so you're doing sort of advanced role-playing techniques and games that are more suited to this sort of environment.
Yes, yes and no. It's a list of quick to learn, quick to play games, like the stuff we're going to be going over at the Meet and Play tomorrow night, 5 to 8.
Yep.
Games you can learn how to play in under 5 minutes, have
Yep.
a character in under 30 seconds, and run through
Yeah.
in an hour or less.
Yeah, and all this sort of thing just sharpens your ability to role play. So if you're struggling maybe with getting into character, or with maybe the more role play aspects, just being creative, thinking
I've
of.
got the gateway drug there for you.
There you go.
Yep.
Cool. So tomorrow, 10:30 in the morning, we're all also going to be present at tomorrow. Maybe not this guy.
I have to work tomorrow, but I work literally down the street,
You're
so
an
I'll be
adult,
here. Yeah.
responsible.
Human beings need medicine.
Yeah. He works in the medical field. Selfish bastard.
Is it selfish?
No,
Kidding.
I'm absolutely
All right.
making fun of you. So
Putting this train back on the rails.
yes, tomorrow in this space, and your panel is going to be here. All the D&D programming is going to be in this space, apart from the meetup. So tomorrow at 10:30, Uncle Yo's Beyond D&D in this space. Tomorrow at noon, Roll for MagFest in this space. Which hey, it's you two.
These guys.
Hey. Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're gonna be goofing, probably more goofs than this
Lots of
panel.
goofs.
Nice. See him
Yeah.
nodding back
We didn't
there.
have enough
Doc.
time for the real goofs.
Yeah, I would have definitely made fun of the.
Oh, say,
French
okay, so
accent.
yeah, the real Gorglak interaction lasted about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it involved several dick jokes, and it involved lots
Yeah.
of like short jokes and
This
and
is-
horrific exceptionally racist French jokes as well. So
This is typically how our
this
sessions
is typically how
go.
our sessions go. But
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that this is just a small preview. We're trying to keep it a little PG.
Yeah, PG-13.
Yeah, and as Justin said, like for me as a DM, like the number one rule is not I want my adventurers to live in my world. It's I made the world, they live in it, and if they're having fun,
Yeah.
then screw it.
Yeah,
then
we're
we'll go
just-
with it. So if you're in a situation where you don't know how to interpret the rules, just go with the flow. And if you have to retcon something, go for it. But don't be afraid to say, let's try it.
Yeah.
Okay. The worst word or the one word that you should avoid most in D&D as a DM is no.
Yep. I agree.
Absolutely. Stay away from that word as much
Yeah.
as you can.
We're doing a DM panel at MagFest Prime. Totally. Yeah, we can commit to that. Definitely, authoritatively saying that.
I'm in.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, and if you want to play some RPG games, we're gonna do probably not a proper D&D one shot because that needs a lot of arrangement. But some RPG games to brush up on your role playing skills and to meet cool people. We're gonna be in tabletop space from 5 to 8 p.m. tomorrow. Cool. So now y'all know how to get started with 5th edition D&D, and we got 15 minutes. Awesome. If y'all want to share thoughts, questions, observations? If you just want to goof on us.
Yeah.
Sup?
Yeah, I actually have a question. I'm like old school D&D
Sure.
player, so I've recently gotten back into it so I can GM for my kids. And I'm looking, and there's all this stuff online, but it has all these different, copyrights and
Yeah.
all this. Can you just give me like a brief overview of like what's allowed to be copied that I find online and what isn't? I find stuff like on D&D Wiki, and I'm wondering, hey, is this legal? Is this not
Yeah, I
legal?
can probably speak to this a little bit.
Go for it.
Yeah,
If you feel confident.
Not really, but we're gonna
No,
go
sure.
for
Yeah.
it. Piracy is against the law. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, thank you. I
I'm gonna
appreciate
I'm
you
gonna
saying
state that right now.
Yeah, MAGFest is against piracy.
Piracy is against the law. Whatever content that you find, whether it be on a wiki, on Kobold's skill or
Cobalt Fight Club.
Cobalt Fight Club, yeah. Any of that information, if it's free and accessible to you via those means, then you are welcome to use it in your homebrew.
Yeah.
Now, as far as licensed content goes, all of the books that are produced by Wizards of the Coast are not available in PDF form or any picture or anything. You have to purchase the physical copy of the book. Now, there are licensed agreements that Wizards of the Coast has vetted through the Dungeon Masters Guild.
Yeah.
So this is an online, basically it's like an eBay for dungeon content. So you can find new feats, you can find new arcane traditions for your wizards, new rogue archetypes, paladin archetypes. Those sorts of things.
This is the homebrew content.
Homebrew content, and so basically users can submit that to Wizards of the Coast. They look at it, make sure that it is appropriate and that it meets their standards, and then they license it out. And then the user who submitted it charges a fee. So I've actually purchased lots and lots of
An
PDFs
unhealthy
from
amount,
this.
yeah.
And in which case,
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about that because I've purchased it, so I feel okay with the copyright content.
Yeah. So are we getting to the? I mean, if you're asking if people are hosting the PHB online, then
Well,
Yeah.
You got the basic set at my local game store.
Mhm.
So we read through that, and then I found there's a PDF online from Wizards of the Coast.
Sure.
So I'm looking at that, and that's even bigger, but then there's a book that I can buy at my game store.
Yeah.
And then I stumbled across something called the SRD.
the SRD,
And then
yeah.
I'm starting to get confused, okay, like what's legal?
What's authoritative?
And, yeah.
I mean, canonical is entirely up to you.
Sure, right.
So I have to say, if the GM holds absolute power in the D&D universe. So if you see something cool in something that's an OGL, an open gaming license material that you want to use, go for it. If you see something in a wiki that you want to use, go for it. I mean, it's entirely up to you. There's nothing canonical here. You are the authority in your campaign.
Okay, so pretty much if I can find it online and it's not on,
Yeah.
like Joe's hidden website,
Yeah.
it's probably legal to use.
I mean, there
What
is.
is the SRD anyway? That's what I'm kind of confused.
What is the SRD?
Yes.
SRD is basically a fancy word for wiki. So it's if I understand correct, it's like a format that people use to host this information in some easily accessible format, like Cobalt Fight Club, like Game Master, which is a D&D application that you can put on your iDevice. So really, I mean, if you want if I had to say if something is most authoritative, so whatever's in the books printed is most authoritative. But the beauty of D&D is that if you find something online that you want to use it. Totally up to you. Mm-hmm. What's up?
Alright, so I have a couple friends and myself are interested in starting a 5th edition campaign.
Sure, great.
All of us have like no experience with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone with any experience with anything like that, so we're all basically fresh.
Yeah.
I played one-shot here last year.
Yeah.
RPG, so I kind of have the gist of it. But I suppose my question is how difficult would it be to start as a beginner and to run a campaign, or should I be looking to recruit someone with experience to maybe run as a DM until we get.
Yeah.
Are you staffing or?
So what I would say,
Okay.
the thing is, don't be too hard on yourself on expecting yourself to know all the rules right away. The thing is, the more you play, the more you will learn. And there is no period way to play D&D. Like, thank you. I appreciate that.
True.
However you interpret the rules is how you should play it. So, as far as learning D&D, like as far as looking to someone, I'm not an authority on D&D. I've been playing for like a year. Eric, you're not an authority on D&D. I reject your authority, Mr. DM. No. So yeah, don't worry about it, man. I mean, the most important thing about playing D&D is that you got a group of people who are coming together, they're having fun, they're using this as a rough guideline. And, if you want some sort of clarification on rules, you can ask for it, but don't ever feel pressured to go by what other people say. I mean, do what makes sense for you and what's fun. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback a little bit about that, if you are interested in getting in DMing, set some expectations.
Yeah.
What do you expect from yourself, and what do you expect from your players? As the dungeon master, to reiterate what Justin was saying, you are the authoritative rule, and if you make a ruling, then the players need to respect that. And if you decide to go back and say, well, okay, that ruling was not correct based on what's in the PHB or based on the storyline, or that weapon is way overpowered, then you have the authority to go back and retcon it and nerf it or whatever you need to do. But the players need to respect that ruling. But as the DM, you need to respect their input.
Yeah.
If they make a compelling argument that they should be able to put a bear in their pocket because of sizing issues and various
I did that.
mushrooms, then sure, go for it. I mean, as long as they're enjoying it,
Yeah.
you don't have to be boxed in by the rules per se.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
All right, we got some.
Yeah,
we got-
some more
we got
hands.
some
I
more
haven't
hands,
heard from
yeah.
you. What's up?
Well, with respect to what you said, I'm just getting into it, and I
Sure.
bought like the starter set.
Yep.
It does seem okay and a lot less intimidating than full size books, so that's
Totally.
something to look into.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think the starter set, it doesn't include feats. So feats are a section of the player's handbook that allow for extra componentry. So it's not actually part of the set. Your DM has to decide we're going to allow for feats. And basically it affords your players extra opportunity. Instead of leveling up statistics, they get extra ability. So he was using the lucky feat, which allows him to re-roll a d20 3 times per long rest.
It's
which
real
is,
good.
It's really good.
Real good.
There's some in there that like allow you to. What's that? Does it allow feats? Because feats are
Okay.
an.
My daughter used that one.
Well, did she?
Yeah. Oh, it's good.
Backstabbed my bugbear and killed me.
But you're right. The
Both
starter
parts.
set is a great introduction into D&D. As far as like the rules, the simplicity of the combat system, the character building, it's all very well laid out. And the starter set does a really good job of transitioning into Storm King's Thunder. It also transitions very well into Out of the Abyss if you wanted to start your players at a little higher level. It doesn't translate very well into Horde of the Dragon Queen, which is the first adventure, or the Elemental Evil, but
It's not. Those aren't very good.
you can work it in. So if you are new to D&D, the starter set's a great place
Cool.
to start.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the starter set, then by all means, play by those rules. But if you're curious about what's in here, I mean, if you want to pick up a copy on Amazon, like $35, go for it and read through it. If you don't like it, don't adapt those rules, period. You do your campaign however you want to do it, period.
Yep. So you had a question, yeah.
So,
In a scenario with somebody, brand new without a DM, what do you think of like the board games as an option, as like an introduction?
Lords of Waterdeep is really cool.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean like the actual campaigns, like was it Drizzt?
Yeah, the Legend of
They've got a
Drizzt.
whole bunch of the actual that run like.
I've played Legend. So I really,
I've seen them, I haven't tried any of them.
as a DM and as a player, I've played the Legend of Drizzt, and I think it's awesome. Not only for the visual aspect, because you get these like massive monster miniatures against your tiny little players, but it also like provides you with a rough outline of what a character sheet is based on your character, and it also provides the DM with a goal in mind, how to tell the story, and a quick like monster sheet. So you get an introduction to DMing for whoever's running the game. It's simple rules that can be played within 2 or 3 hours.
Very
Depending.
streamlined, it's almost D&D abridged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I would agree.
Like,
It is.
jump in if you don't have anybody
Yeah, it's a great introduction to your friends. Like if you don't want to run a full-on one-shot D&D campaign, pick up Legends of Drizzt or any of the other D&D adventures.
Waterdeep is awesome.
Lords of Waterdeep is great.
Well, Lords of Waterdeep is really
fantastic.
cool. If you like Euro style resource management games, Lords of Waterdeep is very fun.
So yeah, it's just a bridge D&D. It's great.
Cool.
Great. Sir, you had another question, didn't you?
Yeah,
Anybody?
I was just gonna comment the same thing he did. That
Yeah.
Starter kit is fantastic.
Yeah.
Especially learning how to DM, because as you're reading through the adventure book, it's actually telling you at the DM, oh, by the way, don't forget to do this, or
Yeah.
don't worry about this, we'll
Yeah.
deal with that later.
Yeah.
You know, say this to your players, don't say this to your players.
Yeah.
So it really holds your hand as you walk through your first adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. So I know Justin and Alex both started DMing shortly thereafter. I started DMing for them. So they started as players. We started January, February
Yep.
of this year, and they started just grew their own campaign. So if you are a new DM, I would recommend not doing any homebrew. Okay, so that was a mistake I made. I was a player for a little while, new to D&D, and I tried my hand at a one shot, and it grew to this exponential thing, and it got way out of hand, and it just went off the rails. So if you are gonna run an adventure and you want to get into D&D as a DM, I recommend choosing an adventure. So one of the pre-built adventures, because it does hold your hand. It provides enough backstory that you don't have to come up with the world or all the factions of political alignings or all the combat interactions.
Yep.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's a good framework.
The adventure books that we mentioned, like Out of the Abyss, Storm King's Thunder, they're written in a very similar style that are friendly to the DM, that say, read this to the players, and then, this is it's a very friendly way to run a campaign if you're a new DM.
Cool. I think we're about a couple more minutes, or
Yeah,
Anybody
yeah.
got any other questions? Yeah.
What's up?
oh,
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, if anybody else has any thoughts,
thoughts, comments, things that you would share with the group, or
yeah,
any experiences?
go for it.
This is more of a personal question, just seeing what kind of interesting reactions I can get. I swear to God, I heard you mention something about like somebody wanting to stuff a bear in their pocket.
Yeah, I did that.
How does that happen?
What if, as a DM, you want to enable them to do that by giving them a magic item, like for instance, bag with a portal in it or something like that? What if you enable them to do that and you tell them to roll initiative and they roll a crit anyway? What happens from there? You're still trying to get them to like stop doing what they're doing.
Oh man, you gotta let him.
Don't.
let him roll.
Don't. Yeah.
That's
let
what,
it roll.
What Eric said earlier is
Yeah.
the one word you do not want to say as a DM is no. You want to make it. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
If they want to put a damn bear in their pocket, make it happen easily. Make
Yes.
that check low. Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah.
But there's always a law of unintended consequences.
Oh,
That's
totally.
right.
Yeah.
I
Come
agree
back
with that,
and
100%.
Bite him in the ass later.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
You forgot to feed your little miniature bear. Now it's full size and real hangry.
Yeah.
A perfect example of this is in our campaign, there was a non-player character who thought he was a god, or may have been a god, not entirely sure. So anyway, the
was
players, they got fed up with his stuff, and he killed a couple other non-player characters. They killed him. Adran decided that he was so enamored with this guy that he wanted to cut his finger off and wear it as a necklace, as a token.
He's a real cool dude.
Real cool dude.
I like him.
He took his dagger, which now they're learning is possessed and magical, right? The consequences of him cutting that finger off are showing up now.
Yeah.
6 months after
Oh, yeah.
it happened.
Yeah.
So as a DM, remember these types of situations. If you want your players to face consequences for doing something that you maybe don't like or doesn't fit perfectly in your story, and you can make it show up later in some strange, odd way
Yeah,
that
that's-
works well for your story.
That's why I like D&D, because nothing is hard-coded. You can make something happen. If the players take the adventure off the rails, then you can just respond by doing something equally unexpected 6 months later.
Yeah, it's great. So
Cool.
awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Happy to
thank
see all of you here. Thanks for listening to our spiel.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.